Hello, animators and artists, and welcome to another Toon Boom interview. The 24 Hours Animation Contest for Students is a free event which challenges students around the world to compete in teams of 5 to produce a 30-second animated film in under 24 hours. This year, the contest will be hosted online from Friday, October 2nd to Saturday, October 3rd. Now in its 18th year, the challenge is hosted by animation professor Aubry Mintz at California State University, Long Beach. Aubry is joining us today, along with Alison Mann, who is on this year's panel of judges, and also joining us are former contestants Pattama Homrod and Kwok. They are here to discuss the challenge, feedback received from schools, and tips on how to succeed with your team's entry. Everyone, welcome to the stream.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right, so I'll start with Aubry.
Thank
Aubry,
you.
how did the 24 Hours Animation Contest grow from a challenge that you ran in your classroom into an international student film competition?
Well, it was kind of like a selfish way for me to get my students to work harder because I was tired of repeating myself. And I just kind of I challenged the students at a school that if I stay in the classroom, I'll stay as long as the last student stays. And so out of like 20 students, about 5 remained, and we all worked overnight, and they got more work done in that 12-hour period than I'd seen all semester. So kind of like a light bulb went off. I said, let me try this out. And I kind of kept doing that every year, and 24 Hours was born. And it kept blowing up, and we opened it up to other schools. And last year we had about 65 schools from about 10 countries participate, like 1,400 students or so. And it was kind of just spread through word of mouth. We have a Facebook page, a group. I have great friends as educators that spread the word. I'm on a great forum, CIFA Hollywood's Animation Educators Forum with about 250 educators, and they spread the word. I have wonderful contacts in industry like Alison Mann here who believe in the effectiveness of the contest. So, it's just this wonderful grassroots thing that keeps growing.
So, Pattama, you were a member of one of the winning teams. How did you get involved as a participant?
So my lecturer recommended this contest to me. The year that I first participated was not the first year our school get to participate. I'm on the second year that my school get to participate, so we kind of got a heads up of what it's gonna look like, because the year before, which is the year 2017, our school got to participate the first round, and my teacher Sudisha, I don't know how he found out about the contest, but that's really cool that, he just thought to himself, he would try this out, even though it's just we didn't really know anything about this. And it was probably quite scary for him, being a school in Thailand, the country that is so far away, just to jump into this contest out of nowhere. That's just really cool, So it's just my lecturer that brought me into this contest.
And Christine, same question. How did you get involved as a participant?
So my school has been doing it for several years. I go to Seneca College, and they've been doing it every year. And honestly, that's how I got through. It's just our faculty telling us about the contest, and then us, a group of friends, just being hey, let's do this. It sounds crazy, and we're not gonna make anything awesome, but let's try.
And Alison, how did you get involved as a judge?
Well, Aubry and I go way back, so we've known each other for, 18, 19 years or something, forever. And through all of our relationship, he's participated in a lot of events I put on, and I think it was my turn to pay it forward. So, but this was such an amazing opportunity, and I'm really excited to be a judge this year.
One thing I've noticed is that the challenges introduce 3 constraints. Projects need to be completed in 24 hours. The finished films can't be longer than 30 seconds. and the films all need to reflect a theme. So I'll start with Aubry. Aubry, how can constraints be helpful in a creative project?
Well, you hear from like the famous legendary designers Charles and Ray Eames, and they say design depends largely on constraints. And they continue to say the designer to recognize the constraints and their willingness and enthusiasm for working within the constraints leads to great design. So as you mentioned, 24 hours has constraints like time, 24 hours, and how do you structure a film around that? What's production design going to look like? What's your animation quality going to be? Can you go for feature quality when you have such a short amount of time? So it's really being smart in designing for the time that you have, knowing that the effect will still be strong. And the last constraint is your teammates. You've got 5. Can you use your teammates as a strength? Does everyone have to be doing the same thing at the same time? Or can people split up? Some work on story, some work on design, and then maybe some are sleeping while others are animating. And it's being really smart in how to do that.
Pattama, do you have any feelings about how constraints can help a project, and which of those constraints do you feel have the most influence on the film that you produced?
So the constraints are good, like surprisingly good. It's just mainly because it's the time that push us to mainly focus on the goal, which is to finish the film under the time limit, and that also, there's something about artists and deadlines. And it's just like, the shorter the deadlines, they're kind of like become this superpower person, for some reason deadlines are just like influence you to just like push yourself to give your all to finish the film and just and anything can happen under like 24 that we never really expect before. So that's something really cool, I think. Yeah, to push over your limits and to learn more things about your teammates and what they can actually do. It's just cool. I think the constraint really help in this. Yeah.
Yeah. Same question for Christine. Which of these constraints do you think had the most effect on your film, and how did you feel about the constraints?
So we really liked the constraint, especially with the theme constraint, because we had kind of a jumping off point. So with the theme, you have a direction to go. It's kind of like when you're given like a blank piece of paper and they're like, draw something. You're like, okay, what? But they're like, draw a pumpkin. You're like, okay, I know what a pumpkin looks like. So then you draw the pumpkin, but then you can figure out how to improve upon it and make it better and make it awesome. So I feel like the theme really helped us narrow down what kind of story can we make with this theme and how can we make it awesome. And when it comes to like the time constraint, it forced us to really be thrifty with our time, and we weren't able to overthink or overcomplicate any sort of ideas or anything because we just couldn't afford to. So with that, we were actually able to finish on time because we had these constraints.
And Alison, how do you feel that this contest shows how artists can work on production studios where you're dealing with types of constraints that studios run into?
Well, I think something that was interesting that Aubry said earlier was when one partner might be asleep, the other one might be working. And more, that is a setup for at least a lot of the studios I've worked in the past. It's like a lot of, people will do the pre-production and then they'll pass it off to their partners overseas. And then by the time they wake up, like that shot is done and then they can give feedback. So it's like this 24-hour cycle of production. So to me, like, that's actually a real world experience and a reality of how we make our content these days. I think being able to communicate and also understand different cultures and how to adapt your communication style based off of that is also such an important skill set, as I feel our creative communities are getting smaller and smaller with technology. And so we're going to have opportunities to be able to broaden who we're going to be working with anyway. So again, I think this particular contest gives you a real good snapshot of potential constraints you might have with technology, but a lot of the pros that come with it and efficiencies you can bring. And so, you know, a lot of it comes down to strategy and your ability to have a creative strategy going into it, and who's going to like pass the baton where, and also not be overly precious. Like killing a few babies here and there, your creative babies, is going to be really important. So I think, you know, again, it's something that we do in our studios, and so to have that kind of experience in 24 hours is going to be epic for a lot of people.
There's like a joke or a scene that you really love, but you know you can't get into the final production. Aubry, we got a question in the we got a question in the chat, which is there an age requirement? When you say students all around the world, do you mean people in college or more in high school? So what would your answer to that be?
Well, it did start out as a contest for college students, and the requirement was you have to be enrolled in a school. However, over the years, we've had participants from high school, teams get together that have permission from their high school and their parents, and even a team from middle school. So if they're organized and they can get together and they have permission from their school and a faculty advisor, they're absolutely welcome to participate. And we had so many teams from high school last year that we actually created our own special award just for best high school team. So there's no age restrictions, so bring it on. If you're excited about it, animation, join up.
And another question, Aubry, is what do students get out of participating in the 24 Hours Challenge?
Oh my, so many things. From learning to work with each other in a team, how to collaborate, which is so important to the animation world, to understanding how to make a film in all the steps, you know, as our guests were saying, like it can be so overwhelming and there's so many steps to making a film. So here you have to kind of put this strange hat on where you have to learn super quick in a super limited amount of time. But after that, it feels less scary, right? So, you know, you understand all the steps. It might not have been creatively what you wanted to do, but after you're able to work on your own films and you know you can achieve all the steps, and then how to make creative decisions basically quickly and in a limited time. So that's a pretty big skill to do, you know, rapid fire. Like to be a great storyboard artist, you need to rapid fire ideas, get turned down, and then come up with new ideas. So this is kind of a crazy version of that in a short amount of time.
Yeah. Christine, what do you feel that you got out of participating in this challenge?
Well, like Aubry said, I got so much out of it. Honestly, I had a blast, first of all, but I feel like some really important aspects that I carried with me afterwards is like being able to understand what it's like to work on a production before I actually worked on a production. And it's funny because now that I'm in the industry, it's not that different. It's just like scaled down like to like 2% of what it's like. But it was awesome because you get to have an experience of the production, and then when you're done with it, you get to breathe a sigh of relief. But then you like look with your friends, and you guys are both sleep deprived, and you guys just want to sleep, and you're like delirious. But then you're like, you look at what you made, and like Aubry said, you know, it's not perfect, but I made this, and there's that overwhelming sense of accomplishment and pride, and you're like, it's almost like an addictive feeling because you just put your heart and soul into this for 24 hours, and you can do it again. And like that's pretty much like the rest of my life and what that's gonna be.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that you can look and see that 24 hours ago there wasn't a film there, and now there is. Pattama, what do you feel that you got out of your experience participating in the 24 Hours Challenge?
Well, a lot of things. Apart from what teacher Aubry and Christine already mentioned, I'm more on the sappy side for for this one. So I'm like, yeah, it's about friendship. It's just, I'm the lucky one because the friends that my teammates, they're already like kind of close friends, but after that we get to know the sides that we have never seen before of each other, and how we can work as a team is just something that I would love to cherish forever. And other than that, it's just like the connections that I've got from this contest. Like for an example, like right now that I'm here interviewing with you guys, it's just beyond my expectation that I like back years ago I would never thought that I would be here speaking to someone from afar, and even like doing the live stream is just crazy. And also for the working part, I feel like this has shifted how I will how to work on animation and other things like completely. I used to be someone who would like to perfect things and such, but with the time constraint and everything, it's just things doesn't have to be perfect. It's just have to be finished, and with all the imperfection, it will bring something wonderful from the work itself. It's already completed with all the imperfection, and yeah, and I have built a lot of trust in my friends. And one thing that I always take from this one and carry on into the other team kind of work or contest at all is that to have trust in your friends, and which is something that's really important to me. Yeah.
So what you're saying is that the real prize was the friends that you made along the way.
Yes, also.
Alison, is there anything else that students can get out of participating in the 24 Hours Challenge?
Well, I think the general experience. I think just when you go to school, like you don't know from the group of students who will get that first job. And so this is just expanding your network. So like the network of maybe there's one of you, or maybe you're the one who gets the job first. And then you're like, hey, I got a job at this studio. And then you just want to surround yourself by the humans that you love to work with. And that group was so excellent that you're going to refer them to work with that studio. And so that's a great way of like making sure that you guys can stay as a unit and build out teams. And as you grow as creative leaders, like you just never know where these friendships, these creative friendships, where these inspirations come from. Maybe there's teams that end up creating a show together or pitch a feature film. You just never know. So to me, I think it just expands the horizons in that way.
Yeah, Alison, I actually have a follow-up question for you from the chat, which is, how do you deal with the problem of jumping into the industry for the first time when you still need to get that first bit of industry experience?
So is the question, how do you jump in, or once you're in? Like,
I think it's before you get in. Like when you're looking in and you see that all these job applications or job postings say, you need to have like industry experience. How do you get that?
Well, I think so. There's a couple of ways. I always believe in career ownership. That is always something that's a philosophy. So to me, if you're interested in becoming a character designer, like the world is a little bit your oyster at this point. Everything is at your fingertips when it comes to really doing your research and figuring out like what you need to do in order to get that job. So if you want to be a character designer in TV, for example, pick any studio, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, any of those. You might want to start looking at the artists that are currently working there. Look online, whether it's their Instagram, ArtStation, Twitter, wherever they kind of host their artwork. Look at and see what caliber and what their they're creating, and then look at your own artwork and see, am I aligned? One, stylistically, and then the second is on a aesthetic level. Like, are you there? I think as an artist, whether you're entry level or not, you should always be evolving. It should always go beyond a class assignment. It's not just like my teacher gave me the opportunity to where you're at in your career, or if you're entry level, it's always about curating and creating and refining your technique and your specificity in your visual storytelling. So one, I always say, if you're stuck on an island and you had to pick one career, what would it be? And I know that's a hard thing to do because there's so many cool facets of our industry, but the more specific you are, the easier we're able to kind of place you. The second is making sure your observational skills are on point. So observe your work and then the folks that are in the industry and see if where the holes are and where you might need to work and refine. And once you get there, then start putting together a portfolio that reflects you as an individual, but also is reflective of the style that is of that particular studio, because every studio is going to look for something a little bit different, which makes it a little tricky. But I think we all kind of gravitate towards one style or another. So it's kind of that internal search. It's like some people think a certain studio might be the mecca of like, this has been my dream my whole life. And I think it's great to aim for those. But I also think it's important to realize who you are as an artist and what inspires you to do art. And sometimes those two things don't actually align. You might actually be happy at another studio drawing in a certain aesthetic with a certain type of storytelling that might not align to what your expectations were as you've been developing your expectations of where you want to take your career. So I think it's a little bit of expectations versus reality. But to me, like if it's on an art basis, like it's really about the art and the portfolio. So to me, it's not the years of experience. If there's a stellar artist that's in high school and they're doing killer work, I would engage in working with them. So to me, it's not about the years you put in, it's about the refinement and also putting yourself out there. I think there's never a good moment, maybe. I think we're all very insecure. We may all suffer from imposter syndrome in one way or another. So I think it's about just starting to get out there, starting to get some feedback and building up from there. But if you are waiting for that exact moment of like, yes, my portfolio is ready, you may also miss some boats. So don't be overly precious while trying to put everything together.
Wow, that's a great answer. Aubrey, do you have any thoughts or what's the guidance that you offer for students when they're looking for their first job in the industry?
Alison's really the pro there. Their focus is getting into industry. My focus as an educator is, helping them find their voice, developing their skills. School is also the time to be able to experiment. It's not the job yet. So, take risks, find ways to see what else you have in there. As Alison mentioned, sometimes it doesn't align what you want versus what you are, but it's a good time to experiment with what you want and what you are. So, it's play, enjoy, try things, fail, and keep trying.
Pattama, what were your expectations for the contest, and was there anything that happened along the way that you were not expecting?
Well, the first thing I expected was to just finish the film and, just have fun. But what I really didn't expect was to win. Like, I suffer a lot from imposter syndrome. Even with working as a team, it was really hard to imagine, because we watched a lot of films that were finished before. Like they're all amazing, and also the Pam Jam animations. Yeah, I really love those that you have finished as well. Yeah, and it's just amazing that we could even be at the top. The first year that I joined, like 2018, I was placed like 12 or something, and we were like, whoa, that's big. That was crazy already. And for last year, for us to just win, it's just like complete mind blow. It's not only for us but also for our faculty and teachers, and it was a very big thing basically. So if we knew that we would win, we would have picked another team name. That wouldn't be so funny to just like say it out loud, because on stage, like in my faculty, like in my university, it was something crazy when the person just read out the team name, which yeah. And other than that, it's just like the connection. I have this online friend that I didn't really expect to get to bond with them like on another level, but it was surprising that they were also joining, participating in this contest. So yeah, shout out to Vinimations. And yeah, I think he's also participating this year, so I wish him good luck, and other people as well. Yeah, I hope you guys have fun. Yeah, it's just amazing. Yeah, and I also didn't expect to be here today, so it's cool. It's like 3 or 4 a.m. right now. I don't know, but I'm happy that I made it. Yeah.
Yeah, what is time right now? Christine, what were your expectations going into this contest, and was there anything that happened along the way that you weren't expecting?
Honestly, I didn't know what to expect going into the competition, because all I knew from my school was that, you stay for 24 hours and then you make a film. And then also there was free food involved. So we're like, okay, we're definitely down. Yeah, free food. But I think what I didn't expect is coming out of it with a group of friends that who we work out together so well. We each have like a role that we play best in, and we all respect each other's opinions and voices, and we just had so much fun coming out of 24 hours that we're still making animations now. And I didn't expect that at all going in. I thought I was just going to be like, oh, we're just doing this for school. But now we're just doing it like every 2 weeks, because we're just having a blast doing it. And it all started with 24 hours. So that was really cool. And similar to like what Pattama and Alison were saying, I also didn't expect that network coming out of this, because there's just such a huge roster of judges and so many different students that take part of 24 hours. I didn't expect to actually be able to kind of bond with other people and have that kind of conversation point. It's funny because in 2017, John Musker was one of the judges for 24 hours. And that year, or the year after, my friend and I went to CTN, and then we met John Musker. And that was one of the talking points. Like, we were able to actually have a full conversation about him judging and then our experience of 24 hours. And he actually remembered our film, which was crazy. And it was just so surreal that, I didn't expect this at all. I just we decided to get together and make a small little group film, and it expanded into this huge thing now.
So Aubrey, there are a lot of really cool judges that are involved and have been involved in this project. How do they get involved?
Before I answer that, I want to pick up what Christina was talking about, John Musker. It was amazing that he participated, but not surprising that he remembered your film. John has one of these crazy memory things where he will remember people's names that he met once, and I'm always floored watching him work in those ways. The judges can come from a variety of ways. old friends or contacts I've had, pulling in favors with some people like Alison, but also outreach with the studio contacts who've gotten to know the contest and promote it, and they've often helped to find judges. Like Alison and my friend Deb Stone at Blue Sky found Galen Chu, the director at Blue Sky this year, and Alessandra Sorrentino, a story artist there. My old high school and college friend Mark Acklin, who's now a storyboard artist at Sony, working on Spider-Man. He's agreed to come on board this year. An old friend, workmate at ILM, Leslie Hedrick, who's now a director on Remy and Boo, is judging this year. And actually one of the original students from 24 Hours way back in like 2005, Karina Gazizova, who's now a director on Wacky Races, Warner Brothers. She's going to judge as well. And Toon Boom helped put us together with Eric Calderon, the director of development and a showrunner and producer, who's going to help out this year. So it's just this wonderful like group of people that want to see what's going on with this crazy contest.
Yeah, I actually ran into Eric last year at the Ottawa International Animation Festival, which is currently running online. He's a great guy and had a lot of insights. Alison, as a member of the judges panel this year, what are elements that you would look for in a film?
I got this. All right. So we will be evaluating the films using the 5 criteria. One is storytelling. So the story has to be fun and entertaining and clear. 2 is art direction and animation. How was the production value of the film? Creativity, interpretation of theme. How creative was the team's interpretation of the assigned topic? And this is something I'm always fascinated on. Like, I love when people like don't take something at face value, but they're like subvert expectations. To me, that's the most interesting way of storytelling, because the way that you can surprise and delight an audience it's a tricky maneuver, but if you can nail it, winner, winner. And then 4, level of completion. How much of the film was actually completed?
Yeah, so we got a question in the feed from someone who, and I think this is a good question for our former winners, which is, how do you deal with disagreements with your teammates? Christine, what was your approach? Did you come into any disagreements with your teammates, and how did you resolve them?
I don't think we came into that many disagreements, because when we got together as a team, we kind of agreed upon each other's roles. So in our team, we had basically like a director who also doubled as an animator. We had another animator, so we had 2 animators, and then we had 2 designers who also doubled as the cleanup crew for like cleaning up the lines and everything after animation. And then we had a production manager who would also do the like small little tasks here and there. So together we acknowledged each other's strengths and we played to them. And I think that that's what's important when it comes to making a team. You guys have to figure out, you know, who's good at what and leave your ego at the door, kind of thing. Because you guys can bicker all you want, but you're just wasting minutes and hours, and you only have 24 of them. So you gotta just shut up and, you know, agree, basically.
Pattama, does that ring true to you? Did you experience any disagreements in your team, and how did you resolve them?
Just like Christine just mentioned, yeah. My team, we also have this one director. Like, he's really good at, you know, structuring what goes where. I think my team, we are also like among the lucky ones that we kind of understand each other's nature, and you know, we are kind of on the same page. But I think that's also because we discussed a lot beforehand that, well, we're trying to understand the theme together. Like, once we get that right and in the same direction, I don't think we're gonna have a lot of disagreement, following up. Yeah, and we also have to respect each other's decision, especially the director, because we gave the person the role. Yeah, and also we have to follow the settlement that we have, made. Like if there are some people coming in and just like make comments and just like, yeah, maybe we should bend over to this way, or just like shift direction of the work, we're gonna have to make decision that, well, we're gonna settle on what we had agreed before. But if it's like, if it makes sense that it would make, the work become better, then maybe. But it's just, yeah, like Christine said, like we work with time, so we have to understand that, yeah, time is a big thing, like it plays a big part, and we have to finish the work on time. Yeah, just have to consider
that makes sense. Aubrey, broadly speaking, do you have advice for students who want to take part in the 24 hours challenge?
Well, picking up on what Pattama and Christine were saying, while it is important to work as a team and cohesively collaborate, I think the first 3 to 5 hours are crucial, and this is where you kind of see like the heat happen. One year we decided to have like a confessional booth at Cal State Long Beach, and those tapes were not good for TV. I mean, these people were upset, like breaking down, crying, just hating each other in some instances, because, it was like people really want to be heard, especially with your, creative ideas. So in that first, like I'd say from 4 p.m. till midnight, that's like story time. And that's your chance to really kind of get out the story you want to tell with each other, and everyone should be on the same page by the end. But if there's a fight to have, that's the time, because at the end of the day, those judges are going to be looking at that story. I mean, you might have something that looks amazing, but if it doesn't like hit them in the heart and ring true, it may not land. So it's okay to fight for what you believe in, I think.
Yeah. Alison, do you have any advice for students who want to take part in this challenge?
I think kind of what the rest of the group was saying, I would just reiterate, is like coming up and figuring out what your structure is going to be, and like whose roles is going to be what, and make sure that's really comfortable. Nail down that story before you start any visuals. And then when you go to the art direction and you move on, being very crystal clear about what you feel the art direction should be, and maybe work together to pull some references quickly, or do it ahead of time if there's live action references that you guys want. But I think it's about also keeping it simple and not taking on more than you should. I think simplicity is key, focusing on that story, keeping sets and everything. Like, don't overachieve. Like, I think sometimes people want things to be kind of complex, or they think that would get them more points. But I think oftentimes when I see kind of like the most simplistic story, and it has such a nice message and heart, and who those characters are, that goes so much further than something that is overly creative, or I don't know. I had an art teacher once and it was a fine artist, and we would do these paintings, and then like we'd be like, oh, we love it, and he goes, okay, now we're going to paint over them. And I was like, what? I was like, I love this painting. And so the theory was like, if you could do it once, you could do it again, and typically the second time you do it a lot better. But it's also about not being overly precious with ideas, and checking your ego at the door, and letting the art kind of speak for itself.
Christine, what's your advice as someone who's gone through this contest before?
So it's going to sound pretty similar to what everyone else is saying, because I feel like as someone who's kind of like witnessed what happens if you don't keep it simple, like some people, you just have to like say it 3 times for them to understand it. What all my faculty said every time like we go up to them and ask them for advice or anything, they'd always say, remember KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And it sounds so simple, because it is, but it's literally just figure out a linear story, like figure out something that sells and has heart, and then figure out 1 or 2 layouts, maybe minimize the amount of characters. I remember one time we were visiting another group while they were still in the brainstorming period, and they were just like storyboarding out their animation. And I think when we came, they had like a table and a half full of storyboard panels. So I was gonna say it's like maybe 30 to 40 panels. And I'm like, this is a 30-second animation. So then after they walked us through the whole story, they're like, do you have any feedback? Like, what do you think? And then me and my friend were just like, we pointed at the 3rd panel. We're like, stop it there. You're like, you do not need all of this. You're not gonna have time to do all of this. And it's getting way too messy. You just gotta simplify it. And I feel like if everyone can practice that, then you can have a finished animation, A, and B, just have something clear and readable and actually digestible for the audience. And I think along with that, one of the most important things that we found beneficial to us was overlapping the work. So it's not just having your roles assigned, it's making sure that everyone is doing something and not just kind of wasting time. So we had a structure, honestly. We practiced it beforehand too. We would kind of like look up random words on Google, and then we'd try to run the whole test run beforehand just to make sure that we knew what we were doing. But our kind of schedule was we would have a time limit for how much time we could brainstorm. And then while like 3 of us were brainstorming, well, everyone could pitch in ideas, but while we were brainstorming, the 2 designers would be drawing like little doodles of possible designs or whatever. And it wasn't just for like one idea. We're throwing out as many ideas as we could, so that when time was up, we had a pile to choose from. And then we would narrow it down from like maybe like 7 or 8 ideas to like 2 or 3 that we like. And then from there, we're like, okay, we have to choose one. And then we would figure out the storyboarding for that, and then show other people, see if it reads. And then from there on, the designers went off to finish the layouts or any assets. And then while they're designing, the animators started animating roughly. And while after the designers were done, they would jump on to clean up. And then if any animators are done, they'd jump off to like help with like sound or comp or anything. So it's a lot of like overlapping, making sure that you maximize your time.
So you had like an entire production pipeline planned out.
Yeah, we actually had, we synced up our computers to have one Google Drive on them. So we actually made sure that all the files were updated in real time. So we didn't waste any time with like upload or download, no like tech issues or anything, because we practiced beforehand. And we'd have all the folders organized and structured so that, you know, this is story, design, layout, anim, post, you know, comp, whatever. So a lot of it just had to do with a lot of like planning and being prepared and kind of like, you know, just practicing.
I feel like there are technical directors who should really interview your team, because that sounds really cool. Pattama, what was your experience like? What's your advice for students who are participating?
Oh, wow. So first of all, I was Yeah, I was surprised because many of the things that the Panther animation did, we also did. Yeah, like the looking up for words like on Google and such. What's funny? Yeah, is that on the first year that I and my team first participated was on 2018, and we were looking up for words, and they just it's just like a random generator, and we got the words like dead and then chicken, and then we were like trying to came up with a story of like a dead chicken doing something. And what's awesome was that the theme of that year was empathy, and we came up with like if you go on YouTube and just search for the team name ASD of JKL PSD, you would find the story of like a dead chicken like suddenly find the customer in the restaurant and feed for his life, and all the food's just like going out. Yeah, it was wild, but yeah, and it's just taught me that like sometimes you never know what might just happen, and that was just that one practicing time really sorry. I don't know what I'm speaking. It's just that what I was trying to say is that you never know what's gonna happen, and what you were just like playing around might just work in the field when you were working. And yeah, I have this one thing that I really want to advise, which is to plan out the time, the like the exact second, because we have like 30 seconds exactly. And what my team did was we have laid out this like a paper of like storyboard, but each block, like each action, we also know like how long it's gonna be. And we did not just like think and just do it. We somehow just also like act out, like if anybody walked passed by like the room that we were working, you would see like a friend like doing random thing. Like there was this one friend, like the director, he was like dancing, as the mom, and we're just like noting the seconds that it would take. And yeah, just like Christine said, that we have to do some overlapping work to make sure that everyone is doing something. Yeah, and that also helped a lot because we also have like a post-it note that note the nicknames of our teammates, number of like scenes assigned, like or which goes where and who does what. And then after we finish our part, we just gonna take others workloads from each others and just like help them to finish that. We also divide the time, just like teacher Aubry mentioned, like how to like 3 to 5 first hours, like we would discuss like how the story was supposed to go, like what we're gonna say in the story, how we're gonna tell the story, how it's gonna end, just tied up that in like we kind of have like a pre-production period and then just go into the production and post-production. My team was very lucky last year. There was this one teammate who is very good at compositing, so all the time she was just like taking the shot from others that have already been animated and colored and just combine that with the background that she was painting while we were just like animating, and then it just worked very well. And also the sounds, if you can find like time beforehand, or just the sounds beforehand, and just like trying to put those together in like the last few hours, so it would
Yeah,
work
no, that's
really
really
well.
cool. I like you mentioned that like you were acting out the different scenes to sort of figure out how long will this take to animate, because I thought that was really interesting. We got a question which is how do you, I guess it boils down to how do you make decisions? Like how do you come up with the story together? How do you settle on design decisions? How do you agree to come up with a plan and stick to it?
Me?
Yeah, we'll start with you.
Oh, um, well, honestly, I cannot really remember how we got into that, but it's just like I said before, like we discuss a lot of things and we talk a lot. I think the most important thing is to really communicate with each other and really try to understand like what we want, what each person can do, and just like trust in each person's strength, and just get to know your teammates. Yeah, I think that's really something that's really, really important. And again, I would love to emphasize this so much, is that to put trust in your friends. Don't work like on your own, because you're doing the teamwork here. You have the opportunity to learn as a team, and also to have fun, and to it's like, because this competition in particular is just, for me, like, the best prize that I got here is to complete the work. I think is the main goal, and it's really important to make sure that you have fun and that you get like a very good experience out of this, because you don't know if that's going to be your last time or something. So let's focus on that instead of just like, I really want to win and I really want to just like put, just, there are things that we would not expect. So let's say, apart from sticking to what you're supposed to do, also just go with the flow. Yeah, that's really important.
That's fair. And it sounds like there's a lot that's happening in the 24 hours that you sort of all have to have at the same time. Christine, what is your focus, or how did your team resolve questions about, how do you pick a story? How do you pick designs? How do you stick to a plan?
Well, when it comes to making decisions, I would say it's very important, like Pattama said, to have a lot of trust in your teammates. And especially because we had one person who was basically the director, it was pretty similar to kind of like a regular production, because everything we did, we ran by him, and we agreed collectively, but we know that he had a clear vision, and we trusted kind of like his taste and his instincts and everything. And because of that, we were able to work cohesively as a team, and he ended up making a lot of the final say. And because he was also the compositor, his vision was carried out throughout the whole animation. And it might be kind of hard because, you don't want to give up your art, and like when you feel so strongly about one thing, and then they feel strongly about something else. Eventually, you just have to agree that, what does the majority feel? If like the whole team wants something and the director, like just in this instance, and the director wants something else, the director also has to keep an open mind and try to listen to what their teammates are saying, because if they're feeling this way, then there's probably a reason behind it. So yeah, it's just a lot of trust in your teammates and acknowledging their skills and acknowledging when they're better, and just understanding that your main goal is to finish the film. And you guys should just leave your ego at the door and get it done.
Aubry, are there trends that you've seen in the films students produce, and are the strategies that students tend to favor?
Yeah, I think people tend to go with comedy at first. When we think about telling a story, most people go to a joke, which is a kind of a short, condensed format. There's a setup and then there's a punchline. And, it's an effective way to get a reaction from an audience, is to get a laugh. But I also challenge people, and if you look at the top winning films, whether they're comedy or not, they have like poignancy to them as well, or maybe a message in there, or something that like goes right to the heart and leaves us with a feeling. So I just implore all teams to kind of, you start with the joke, whatever comes first in your brainstorm, but then see if there's layers you can add to it. Not making it too complex of a film, but something that will reach people on different levels. I was going to say what Christine said last about finding the director. That's something you might not pinpoint right away either. Like, wait till the ideas come out, because she's right. You want someone that has a strong vision. But you also might be surprised. Like one year we had a team, I think this was 2018. If you look at the YouTube playlist, a film called Jenny from the Animates. They had 2D, 3D, experimental, stop motion. They wrote their song, they sang their song. So it felt like this collaboration of several ideas that somehow worked cohesively. So just stay open and be excited to see what happens.
All right. So we are almost out of time. Aubry, where can students go to register for the 24 Hours Animation Contest?
I believe we'll be posting it in the link here, but you can go to our 24 Hours Facebook group, which is 24 Hours Contest, and join up, and we post everything there. There's a registration link. All you need is a team of 5 and permission from your school and a faculty advisor, and you can sign up. You can also email us at 24hourscontest@gmail.com, as well as you can look at the films on our YouTube playlist. If you go to the Best of 24 Hours, you'll see it there.
All right. And where can our viewers find more of your work and other projects? Aubry, you first.
I have a film called Nothing to Say that's out in the festival circuit right now, and you can go to Facebook, Nothing to Say Film, to see all about that.
All right, Alison, where can people find more of your work?
I'm on Twitter and Instagram, and then I am curating a book called The Art of Voting that Aubry participated in as well, and 100% of the proceeds go to Fair Fight, which is an organization founded by Stacey Abrams. And there's a GoFundMe with The Art of Voting. And so we'll put that in the link as well if anybody is interested in pre-ordering that book. And then there's also digital copies available as well.
Pattama, if people want to see more of your work, where should they go?
I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and sometimes YouTube, but I'm mostly active on Instagram, and you can just search at Pattama Homrod, which is at PATTAMAHOMROD. Yes.
All right. And Christine, where can people go to find more of your work?
So for my personal work, you can find me on Instagram. My handle is artekariye, ARTEKRYEE. But for more of little fun animations that we started doing in 24 Hour, and now we're doing like every 2 weeks, you can find us at on YouTube. If you search Fam Jam Animations, it'll be the first one that pops up.
All right. Well, that is our show for today. I just want to announce that we will be hosting Collaboratory this weekend at the Ottawa International Animation Festival. I'm actually wearing the shirt right now. And you can find us at the festival on September 25th at 6 p.m. Eastern for Collaboratory. Rigging artist Matt Watts will be running a workshop on Sunday, September 27th at 2 p.m. Eastern. So keep an eye on Facebook and Twitter pages. That's at Toon Boom and Toon Boom Animation for more details soon. Until next time.